Welcome to the Early Morning Light Podcast. This is your host, Tracy Early, and on this podcast, I share life-changing tips, tools, information, motivation, and inspiration to bring light to your life as you tune in to the Early Morning Light Podcast. And I'm so excited about what I'm going to share here today. I had a recent experience with my wife where we took a short trip to Brown County, Indiana, and some other places, but during this trip, I had this really profound experience with one of the shop owners at this place. I don't know if you've been to Brown County, but it's a nice little quaint town with some nice bed and breakfasts and, some nice shops and restaurants and things like that. Kind of a day trip kind of a thing where you can spend several hours and just have a relaxing time, maybe buy some things that you don't need. I don't know. But anyway, it was nice. It was a really good trip. But one of the things that stood out for me was when we went into this place that sold, there's a little shop that sold like olive oil and balsamic vinaigrette and things like that. Just a plethora of options when you walk in, like, lining the walls and aisles, just a lot of options for olive oil and balsamic and all the different flavors, and where you can really come back and get your cook on and feel good about this product and what and the taste in the food that you make. But anyway, so we're in this place, and I was just almost blown away by the passion with which the owner, who was there at the time, described some of her products, and just the care and the time that she spent with not only us but other customers, just describing the products and how they can be used and what types of dishes you can put this oil in versus this one, this vinaigrette versus this one. I mean, you could just hear and feel the passion that she had for the product and the products. And we spent quite a bit of time. We got to know her story and how she had actually had kind of shifted careers. Like she was in like the sports industry, as a physical trainer or something. I forget exactly what she did. It worked with some major sports teams in the Indiana area. She shared, some of her story about how she ended up in Indiana. But anyway, just I was blown away by the passion with which she described the products. And as I walked out, or as I continued to think about, throughout the day, what that experience was like, I was left with this question that has probably been mentioned in some form before on the podcast, but, it was a little different. And the question was, for all of us, is as we go about our days and our lives and doing the things that we do, because let's just face it, we get 24 hours in a day, hopefully we get some sleep during the night, and, but for that, I don't know, 12 to 18 hours that we're living life and doing what we do, we get to choose what we do with our time. And so the question I had was, as you go about your day, whatever you do day to day, are you living your passion or are you living your obligation? Because I think there's a distinct difference. Are you living your passion or are you living your obligation? And when I say that, I obviously reflect on my own life, and I ask myself, like, there have been times when I feel like I'm really on purpose, and most of the time, and at this point, I feel this way, I'm living my passion. It's that thing that fires me up, working with students and, encouraging people in whatever arena that I'm in. I mean, that is something that I've always been passionate about. But I think there's times when, and maybe this is where you are right now, when we are living our obligation, when we're just going about life, doing the things that we feel that we have to do, that we're obligated to do for various reasons. Like, you've got to, in most cases, people are in situations where you have to pay the bills. So you might need a job in order to pay the bill. I'm not saying, anyone should quit their job for their passion if you don't have another way to make ends meet. But I think there are times when that period of living the obligation goes a little too long, or maybe a lot too long, if that makes sense, where we get stuck in this rut of just doing those things that we feel obligated to do. And we may have had other things that we were passionate about, and most of us have, that we are putting on the back burner, or we are not allowing ourselves or creating the time to do those things that we're passionate about, because we feel that we have to do the things that we're obligated to do for whatever reason. And I just want to encourage all of us that, we only get so much time, in this life, and so much time in our day, our year, our weeks to do the things that we are either passionate about or we feel obligated to do. And I'm, if you are in a situation, as many of us have been, where you feel like most of the time you're just doing what you're obligated to do, that just doesn't feel good. And you're probably not in that, what I like to call that zone of effectiveness, where you're actually effective in doing the thing that you're doing at the level that, at the highest level, if that makes sense. As I was interacting with this lady, and I tend to tune in to things like this, at this point in my life, and probably most of my adult life. That's just the way that I've been wired, is just to tune in to these things, as we try to figure out, life and what, we are supposed to be doing or need to be doing to keep life on purpose, if that makes sense. But as I was interacting, I was just blown away by the passion. And I walked out of this shop with just a different sense of energy. And it's all because, so catch that. Not only was the fact that she was living her passion, beneficial and helpful for her, but it was also helpful for someone else, potentially a customer who comes in and picks up on that and feels that. So, I mean, not that you're obligated to uplift every customer that comes in your business, but, that is just a win-win thing when maybe you've been around someone who was clearly living their passion, and you felt that energy that person was projecting, because they were in that zone of what they felt passionate about doing. So I want to just encourage us to, a couple of things that you want to focus on to see if you're living your passion is, are you energized by that thing? Like, do you feel a sense of energy, as opposed to, feeling like your energy is being sucked out of you because you're doing what you're obligated to do versus what you're passionate about. So energy. The other thing that I think you'll notice, and I felt this when you're living your passion, is that you love talking about it or expressing it in some way, whatever that thing is. Like you just love doing it. Like you probably think about doing it all the time, and your ideas are flowing, and so you love doing that thing that you're doing. And the other thing is that the focus is not, number three, I would say it's not always on, if it's a business, like it's not just about the money. If you're doing something that is just being done because it pays, and there's nothing wrong with pursuing money, I don't believe that's lasting in terms of like a sense of purpose and happiness, if it's just about the money. So, so those are just a few ways that you can determine if this thing you're doing is living your passion or you're living your obligation. And my hope, my prayer, I'm a praying person, for all of us, is that as we assess our lives, in the coming days, or after you listen to this, that you start to tune in and ask yourself, am I living my passion more often than not? Or am I living my obligation more often than not? And if you find that, because you want to be honest with yourself, that you're actually, most of the time it's your passion, then hooray, I clap for you. I'm excited for you. I think your life is on track. You're living purpose. And I just wish and pray for more of that for you, that you continue to stay tapped into the passion. But if you're someone who's thinking most of the time, Trace, I'm just doing what I'm obligated to do. I got to pay the bills. This is kind of what I've been doing for a while. I feel obligated to this company or this organization, and it doesn't really always feel good. In fact, most of the time it doesn't. But this is just what I'm locked into. I can't see another way of doing it. I want to encourage you, if that's you, to tap into whatever that thing is, because there was something, even, and it's probably still there, that you're passionate about, and figure out a way. Maybe it's not a full-time thing that you're doing. Maybe it's a hobby, or it's something that you do, in your spare time, whatever that means to you. But figure out what that thing is. What are you passionate about? And try to find a way to build more of that thing into your life, to build your life, if you can, as much as possible, around that thing that you are passionate about. Because again, we only get one shot at this life. We only get one of these lives that we're living right now. I know I said that twice, but I just believe that we're supposed to be living this thing on purpose. And there are some things that you're passionate about. There is a passion that you have, or more than one, that you owe it to yourself and to the world to live that passion, whatever it may be for you. This is Tracy Early. Thanks for tuning in to the Early Morning Light podcast. I'm so glad to have you tuned in and listening. Please stay tuned for more Early Morning Light podcast episodes, where I just want to bring light to your life as you tune in to the podcast.